Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be how you create a flawless base as far as your foundation, concealer, contour, and highlight, and setting powder and things of that nature. We all want to know how you can better your base. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned a lot from this video. With that being said, let's get right into the video. Alright, so first thing you want to start doing is start moisturizing and priming your face. Moisturizing and priming your face is definitely a big step to a flawless base. You want to make sure that it's prepped to the best because your skin is more important than anything. So as you guys can see, I actually applied my foundation and now I'm just buffing it with a kabuki brush. And what I like to do is I like to stipple it across my face. I don't like to slide. I don't like to swipe my brush against my face because I like to deepen the product into my skin. So with that being said, you see me stippling the product into my skin instead of swiping it across my face. It allows it to actually push into the skin and actually stay into the skin. So as you guys can see, that's exactly what I'm doing right now. And you also want to make sure that you do put enough. You want to make sure that you put enough product as far as like foundation onto your skin. You don't want to put too much because it can cause it to be a little cakey, but you do want to put enough. And you also want to make sure that you have a full coverage product. It is definitely necessary to have full coverage product unless you're not looking for a full coverage product in a particular situation. But for the most part, you want to make sure that you have a full coverage product. It doesn't have to be matte or it doesn't have to be dewy, but make sure that you have a full coverage product, something that's going to definitely diminish the acne marks, the bumps, or whatever you have. So I'm gonna let you guys enjoy me distributing this product across my face. All right, and another thing, you also want to make sure that you get it everywhere. You want to make sure that you get on their forehead. You want to make sure you get their neck, those ears, and everything, because it's definitely important. So you may be dealing with the product that may be a little too dark or a little too light. So you definitely want to make sure that you get everything. It's definitely important to make sure that you get everything, you guys. You don't want like you got a mask on, so it's definitely important. All right, the next step is actually you're going to go in with a sponge. I like to go in with the brush first, and then I like to go in with the sponge to actually push the product into it. It makes it look a little bit more matte, and I personally like a matte look. I don't really care for a dewy look or a dewy finish, so I like to go in with that sponge to just push the product into. So this is just the foundation. I'm not going to end with the concealer yet. This is still just the foundation. And I just darkened the video up a little bit just so you guys can actually see like the division between the concealer and the foundation and the contour and all of that. At first with the video was a little too light, so I just darkened it for you guys. See, I'm still blending. It's definitely necessary. You want to make sure that you blend everything out. You don't want anything to be out of place, anything to be just out of place. All right, so the next thing you want to do is you want to set your foundation. It's optional. A lot of people don't do this. A lot of people just say it afterwards, but I like to set my foundation before I go in with any concealer and contour, because like I said, I like a matte look. I like a very matte and put together look. So I like to set my foundation before I go in with the concealer and the contour. And you want to make sure that this pressed powder is also a pressed powder. You want to make sure that this pressed powder is actually your skin shade. You definitely want to make sure it's too light or too dark because it definitely will show in the end. And how I do this is I just swipe it across. I don't really push it into the skin because it's definitely going to show anyway. It's definitely going to make a big difference anyways. So I just like to swipe it across very lightly. All right, and the next thing you see me doing is concealing. This is when you are highlighting the areas it needs to be highlighted. I use a concealer which is about 2 or probably 3 shades lighter than me. You want to make sure that the concealer shade is lighter than you because that's how it is able to highlight. So I go in with the LA Girl Pro Concealer. This is in the shade Fawn. So I just put it under my eyes. I put it on my cupid's bow. I put it under my chin, well, on my chin, and I also put it in the middle of my forehead. And then I just go back in with my foundation brush just to make sure that everything is blended together. You don't want it to be a separation between your concealer and your foundation. You want everything to be put together. So I definitely go back in with that because the concealer shade is lighter than your foundation shade. So you want to make sure that it doesn't seem out of place. So that's why I go back in with the same foundation, with the same brush that I use for my foundation. I use that same brush to blend out my concealer. And as you guys can see, it melts right into the foundation. And always make sure that blending is the key. Blending is always the key. You want to make sure that everything gets blended before you set. You want to make sure that everything is blended before you set because it definitely will make a difference. Not blending can definitely mess up your whole look. And now you see some type of highlighting going around. You see the difference between it just being foundation on there and then you adding the concealer on there. It highlights it up a little bit, brings it back to life a little bit. And the next thing I do is I go back in with that same sponge that I've been using. I go back in with that sponge and I just press the product into my skin once again. Like I said, I do this for a more matte look, as you guys can see. All right, and the next thing that I do is I actually go in with a concealer shade that is actually a shade lighter than the one I was using at first, just to give it a little bit more brightness. It's very important, depending on what kind of look you're doing. It's definitely important that you get that dimension going on, that brightness going on and stuff like that. So I just go in, at this point, I go in with the LA Girl Pro Concealer in the shade Toffee. And I don't put this under my whole under eye, and I don't put it under my whole chin. I don't put it under my whole cupid's bow. I don't put it over my whole forehead like I did with the other concealer. I just put a little dots. I put it in little areas. And then I go in with my brush that I use for my eyebrows, for like concealing my eyebrows and buffing that out. I just go in with that brush and kind of stipple it before I go in with the sponge. And as you guys can see, it brightens it up a little bit more. I don't know what I was looking at, y'all. I really don't. I don't know. But this is just me continuing to blend out that concealer. Blend, 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 blend. I always make sure to blend, 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 blend. It doesn't matter if you're doing eyeshadows, your face, complexion, base, whatever you want to call it. You want to make sure that you are blending, you guys. It's definitely important to blend. And as you guys can see, the look is already coming together. All right, so the next thing that I'm going to do is actually the part I like, because it definitely allows the look to come together. And this is the part where I'm going to contour. Contour is definitely important. It creates more dimension. It creates the shadow that your natural face already has. I love contouring because I apparently don't have a skinny face. I have a fat face. So I like to chisel my cheeks. I like to chisel my nose. I like to chisel their chin. And I definitely like to chisel their forehead, because this forehead is not it, you know. So you want to make sure that you contour the sides of your cheeks, both sides. You want to contour under your chin. And you also want to contour like the bottom of your face. And you also want to make sure that you contour the forehead and of course your nose. So depending on how chiseled you like, or how chiseled you would like at that moment your contour to look, your cheeks and stuff to look, that would depict how much contour you put. But one thing that I can say is you want to make sure you want to make sure that you don't put too much contour on. That could honestly be the biggest mistake you ever made, because putting too much contour on will have you in a position where you really don't know what to do. It can be easy sometimes, but sometimes it can just be so frustrating. I've actually been through that a lot, and I really just want to take everything off because it's so frustrating, you guys. Contour shades, as you all know, are going to be like a few shades darker than us. So it's already bad enough that we're dealing with like something that's darker than us. So you want to make sure you don't put too much on. You can just look like you're burnt and all this stuff. You don't want to look like that, you know. So you want to make sure that you control how much contour you put into your face, onto your face. So look at me now. I'm just going in with this little it's like an angled narrow brush, and it fits right along my cheeks and everywhere that I like to contour. So I love this brush a lot. And as you guys can see, I'm not sliding the brush against the product. I'm definitely just stippling it in. The key is to stipple the product in instead of sliding it or swiping it across your face. You want to make sure that you push the product into the skin. And then you also see me rubbing the product upwards instead of downwards. You want to make sure that you don't swipe the product downwards, because it can make your face look a little too droopy. You like to push it upwards, if anything, because it allows it to be able to blend into the concealer. And you want everything to blend together seamlessly. And I did put a tad bit too much product on, so you guys will see how I managed to minimize that. And I'm just chiseling out that forehead. And I'm just going back and forth. You want to make sure that you don't have a harsh contour, because it definitely will be noticeable. All right, and this is the part I was talking about when you think you apply too much contour on. You just want to go back in with the brush or whatever you use for your foundation. You want to make sure that you go in back with that certain utensil and just go over that contour a little bit. Like I said, my contour was a little bit too harsh because I did apply a little bit too much. So I just went in with my brush that I used for my foundation and just went over a little bit. And you guys can see it kind of diminished how much was on my face. And it was mostly my cheeks, like one side of my cheek, like one cheek that really had the most contour. So just why I just really just focus on that one cheek. All right, so next you want to make sure that you chisel that nose, you guys. Everybody does not have a good narrow nose, so it's definitely important to contour your nose. When you are contouring your nose, you want to be very careful. You don't want to make it too thin. You don't want to make it too fat because it definitely can go left very, very fast. So I like to use this starting brush that I got from Shop Miss A website. And it fits very perfect for my nose because it's very narrow. So I definitely don't use nothing too fat or too big for my nose. I like to use something that's like very thin. So I slide that right on down my nose on both sides. Very, very easy. Very, very easy. One thing that I can say is that when you are applying the contour onto your nose, you want to make sure that you kind of connect it in a certain way. You want to make sure that you connect it to your eyebrows a little bit so that it can look more natural. And what I mean by that is you guys will see me bringing the contour up until like the beginning of my eyebrows. It makes it look a little bit more natural because makeup is really all about just enhancing your natural face. You don't want to look like a whole different person, as you guys can see. So as you guys can see, my nose is pretty chiseled, but I like to go in with a concealer, the same concealer that I use to highlight my under eye and all of that. I like to go in with that concealer and just go down the bridge of my nose to kind of highlight a little bit, because sometimes you can lose that highlight by contouring it. So you like to just go back in with it. You may not have to do that depending on, you know, how the day is going or whatever. But yeah, so I just go back in with the brush that I used earlier and just go right down the bridge of my nose. So it kind of like separates those two contour lines. Then I go back in with my contour brush, my nose contour brush, and I just fix it up a little bit. You want to make sure that you're very, very precise with your nose contouring. And as you guys can see, my nose look 10 times smaller. All right, and now you guys just see me going back in with that sponge and just pressing all the product in to the skin. And now I'm going to set. Now this is a very important part. You want to make sure that you're very quick at setting because your face can get a little cracky and stuff depending on what products you use. Some products allow your skin to get a little bit more crackier than others. Now first, what I like to do is I like to spray my face with setting spray before I go in and set it, because it definitely allows me to be able to push the setting powder into my skin. It allows it to really melt into my skin. So I use the Maybelline Fit Me product, the Maybelline Fit Me setting powder, I think in the shade medium deep if I'm not mistaken. Everything will be in the description box below. Everything that I used in this video will be in the description box below. But I use the Maybelline Fit Me setting powder to highlight in the areas that I concealed. And you want to make sure that the setting powder is not flashback. Does not give you flashback. You want to make sure that's flashback approved. Like if you take a picture from the back camera, you definitely want to make sure that you don't look like you're supposed to be in a casket, because you don't want that. You do not want that, especially going out throughout the day and at night parties and stuff. You do not want to be looking like a ghost. So it's definitely important that you use a setting powder that fits for you. So like I said, I like to go in and just go over. I like to set everywhere that I put the concealer. So that's under my eye, my cupid's bow, right under my nose, and my chin, and my forehead. And I also like to outline under my nose contour to give it more of a sharper, chiseled look. And I'm not sliding the setting powder or anything. I'm just stippling it into the skin. And also you want to set where you put the concealer at in the bridge of your nose. You want to make sure that you do set there. And it just gives that contour a sharper look. But that stuff is optional. A lot of people don't like to do that. I personally don't like to bake because sometimes, depending on the setting powder that I'm using, I can get a little flashback. And I don't like flashback. I'm really scared of flashback. So I don't like to bake a lot. I think I baked like a couple times and I didn't like it, honestly. So I just like to sit and then just wipe it right off. And I just go in with that same foundation brush that I've been using. I go in with that brush and just swipe it right off. All right, so the next thing that you guys see me doing is actually going on top of that cream contour with a powder contour. And you also want to make sure that you really just want to make sure that you set everything that's cream or liquid. You want to make sure that you set your foundation, your concealer, and your contour. It's very important because at first, as you guys can see, my contour was looking a little shiny, and I don't like that. So like I said, I like to go in with a powder contour on top, something that's like the same color, the same shade as that cream contour. So I just go in the exact same places that I contour. I do that with the powder contour. You guys will just see me keep going back in with that foundation brush just to diminish the amount of contour that I had on my face, because I had a little bit too much, but I just fixed it in the end. And that's just a good way to just diminish how much product you have on, because sometimes we can put a little bit too much product on mistakenly. So just going in with that foundation brush or whatever you use to apply your foundation, going back in with that will help that. So I'm just setting wherever I contour. You're setting it with the same shade that you use to contour cream. You're gonna use that same shade as the powder, and you're just gonna go on top of that. And then I'm just setting my nose contour, because that's important as well. Sometimes I forget, mistakenly I forget to set my nose contour, and that's a big mistake I've made. All right, so now what I like to do is I like to go in with a big fluffy brush, the same brush that I used to set my foundation earlier on in the video with the pressed powder. I like to go in with that brush and then just brush everything together, like, you know, just swipe everything together. And then the last thing that you're going to do is you're going to set that face, because it's definitely important to set that face. It's the summertime. We don't have time to be looking like we just got out of the pool and we just wet. So you definitely want to set that face and make sure everything stays in place throughout the day. And then most importantly, you want to highlight, because it's definitely important to highlight. Well, it's not important to highlight, but it feels and looks good to highlight. It brings the look all together, especially depending on what kind of look that you are doing. Be the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I also hope you guys learned a lot from this video. Make sure to leave a like on this video. Make sure to comment any more videos that you guys would like to see, and also make sure that you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you turn on post notifications so you guys will never miss any more uploads. With that being said, I'll see you in the next video.